I fell for my sister's suitor, General Mu Changzhou. But he just tugged at my little hair bun and said mockingly, "Do you even know what love is? Hurry home and go nurse from your mother." I wasn't going to do that. But 8 years later, the way he looked at me changed. My sister was as beautiful as a flower. She was also the eldest daughter of the Prime Minister's house. Countless men in the capital admired her. She had just reached marriageable age, and the matchmakers were endless, nearly trampling the threshold of the Prime Minister's manor. When she went to offer incense with our mother, the maids and servants by her side would earn a fortune, because those young lords and noble sons wanted to pass her love letters and poems. Sometimes when they couldn't get close to my sister, they would come to curry favor with me. There was an 8-year age gap between my sister and me. I was the child born late in our mother's life, while my sister was in her prime. I was still just a little toddler, like a sticky rice ball. Those men knew my sister adored me, so they often brought me delicious treats and fun toys, using them as an excuse to talk to her. My sister would always smile and remain silent, accepting them for me one by one. In truth, I knew those men were wasting their efforts. Though my sister seemed gentle and easygoing, she was actually very strong-minded. She once said she wished for a single heart to stay together until their hair turned white, and the person she had her heart set on was the current emperor's fourth son, Zhao. No one else knew, but I was very clear about it. Every time she saw the fourth prince, her face would blush red. When they parted, she would stare at his back in a daze. When no one was around, she would hold me and softly ask, "Little Bauer, is it okay if the fourth prince becomes your brother-in-law?" Bauer wants the fourth prince to be my brother-in-law. Whenever I said that, she would give me a big kiss and hold me while spinning around happily. Mu Changzhou was a general's son. He had bright, piercing eyes, and was a master of the sword. Unlike the fourth prince's reserved gentleness, he was always direct and straightforward, as passionate as the scorching sun. After several attempts to show his affection, without receiving a reply from my sister, he finally blocked my sister's path while she was out viewing flowers. "Miss Gu, I, Mu Changzhou, am devoted to you, and wish to be wed to you for 100 years. I wonder how you feel?" My sister was both embarrassed and anxious, her face flushing red. How could someone be so blunt with a young lady? I couldn't stand to see my sister so flustered. With my short little legs, I stomped over to him, hands on my hips. "My sister will never marry you. My brother-in-law will be the fourth prince." My sister hurriedly covered my mouth, but Mu Changzhou was looking at me with a playful smirk. "Little girl, I didn't think you were so young, and already learned how to climb the social ladder." My sister's face darkened. "Master Mu, watch your words. Not everyone is as base as you imagine." She then took my hand and told the maids to turn and leave. Seeing he had angered my sister, Mu Changzhou hurried forward to block us, wanting to apologize. Seeing him pestering her, I pushed my sister back and stepped forward to kick him. "Don't bully my sister." Who knew his legs were made of iron? My little foot hurt tremendously, yet he didn't budge an inch. The other men who liked my sister always thought of ways to bribe and please me. He was the only one who didn't buy it. The more I thought about it, the more aggrieved I felt, and I burst into tears while rubbing my foot. Now, my sister was even angrier. She pulled me into her arms and gave Mu Changzhou a cold ultimatum. "Master Mu, if you don't leave, I'll call for help." Mu Changzhou returned in disappointment that day. The next day, he had his mother come with him to apologize. Our mother looked at him with a meaningful gaze, but my sister refused to come out and see him. Helpless, he had no choice but to leave dejectedly. That night, mother held sister's hand and tested the waters. "Qing'er, why do you dislike Mu Changzhou so much? In terms of family status and background and character, Mu Changzhou is a perfect match for you. The Mu family has a clean reputation, and seeing how he is, he seems to be a devoted man. He would surely treat you well if you married him. Qing'er, will you really not consider this marriage?" My sister looked down and remained silent. On the large bed behind them, I was drowsily falling asleep when I heard mother's words. I suddenly flipped over and sat up, arguing loudly, "Humph. What's so good about Mu Changzhou? He's a big meanie who made me cry." Mother was both annoyed and amused. She pulled me over and gave my bottom 2 light swats. "Little Bauer, talking nonsense again. What do you know?" My sister leaned against mother's shoulder, acting spoiled. "Mother. Look, even Bauer doesn't like him. We are just not destined for each other." Mother could only laugh and sigh. "Fine, fine. Forced fruit is not sweet. I won't meddle further." Perhaps my future brother-in-law, the fourth prince, heard that. Mu Changzhou was relentlessly pursuing my sister, and couldn't sit still either. I don't know how he convinced his mother, consort Xian, and the emperor. But 2 months later, the emperor issued a decree, betrothing my sister to the fourth prince as his primary consort. The day the decree was announced, my sister was so happy she felt like she could fly, but mother had a trace of worry. The royal family is a place of endless conflict. Our Gu family has already reached the pinnacle of court status. Even without joining the royals, we would be safe for a lifetime. Why jump into these muddy waters? Furthermore, he is a prince. How could there be only one woman in his inner palace? Sister couldn't hear any of this. She said with conviction, Mother. Yin Lang and I truly love each other. He promised me he would only ever marry me. Mother sighed helplessly, only calling her a silly child. But since the imperial decree was issued, nothing more could be said. Throughout the prime minister's manner, sister was happy. Mother was worried. And only I was plotting in my heart. I definitely have to tell that enviable sister's engagement news to him myself. I'll make him so angry he cries, if not to death. The chance for revenge I plotted day and night actually delivered itself to my door. One day, finally, I went out with mother and sister to order jewelry, and found out the young General Mu happened to be drinking in the tavern next door. I secretly had the servants take me there, wanting to mock him properly. But as soon as I saw him, I was startled. It had only been 2 months since we last met, but the elegant youth had turned into a scruffy, unkempt mess with stubble. He downed one cup of wine after another, oblivious to everything around him. I deliberately said loudly, My sister is going to marry the 4th prince. She's not marrying you. Are you crying like a baby? He looked up and saw me, then gave a drunken laugh. So it's you, little girl. You've come to laugh at me too? I pinched my nose and stayed far away. The smell on you is disgusting. No wonder my sister doesn't like you. If you stay like this, nobody will like you. He sniffed himself, and muttered, No wonder. She doesn't like me. Seeing his decadent state, I suddenly felt a bit of pity. Stop drinking. My sister is right next door. If she sees you like this, she'll like you even less. Upon hearing my sister, Mu Changzhou miraculously sobered up. He hurriedly started tidying his clothes, but then stopped with a bitter smile. No matter what, she will never love me. Then, a familiar voice came from outside. Gu Yuaner. It was mother and sister, finished with the jewelry and searching for me. He looked down through the window, his gaze lingering on my sister, unwilling to move for a long time. In his eyes, there was adoration, despair, and bitterness. But I was too young then, and couldn't understand such complex emotions. Only the flicker of a tear in his eye was deeply engraved in my mind. So much so that later, every time I saw my sister and brother-in-law's affection, I would involuntarily think of that heartbroken young man. After sister and the 4th prince wed, it was as sweet and loving as one would imagine. During the 3-day homecoming, seeing Zhao Ying's attentive care for sister, father and mother were very satisfied. Because she adored me, sister often invited me to play at the 4th prince's manor. Every time I went, I was showered with their public displays of affection. 4th prince, brother-in-law. I want to go to the market. He was good-tempered too. Ordering servants to prepare the carriage, he and sister would walk through the market holding hands, not avoiding the surprised looks of the crowd at all. I insisted on holding my sister's hand, and brother-in-law didn't get annoyed either. He and sister held me on either side, buying me candied haws and sugar cakes. When vendors complimented them on what a match they were, they would look at each other and smile over my head. My teeth were practically rotting from the sweetness. At times like this, I would sigh in my heart, I wonder if Mu Changzhou would be heartbroken and drinking again, if he saw such a scene. Such good days. My sister only had for a year. A year later, the emperor issued a decree for the 4th prince to marry the daughter of the vice minister, Wang Yanhui, as his secondary consort. I heard Wang Yanhui was consort Xian's original choice for the primary consort, but the 4th prince had insisted on marrying my sister, so they both had to compromise. On the day the decree came down, my sister was heartbroken. She had her first argument with the 4th prince. In a fit of anger, she returned to her parental home. The 4th prince chased after her immediately, but was shut out by my sister. It was father who came out to smooth things over, saying she should be left in peace for a few days, and she would return once she thought it through. The 4th prince could only return to his manor, looking back at every step. Sister heard the noise and wanted to chase after him several times, but forced herself to resist. She collapsed into mother's arms, her face covered in tears. Silly child, he is a prince. How could he only marry you? Even if he wanted to, consort Xian and the emperor wouldn't allow it. Since you married into the royal family, you can't be so naive anymore. I was a year older then, and stronger than before. Seeing sister so sad, I clenched my fists to go settle the score with Zhao Ying. Sister grabbed me. Bauer, don't go. Your brother-in-law is also acting against his will. I thought this was sister's greatest pain, but I didn't know an even more cruel imperial decree was quietly on its way to the general's manor. Feeling stifled, I rode my horse with servants to the outskirts of the capital, to clear my head in the peach blossom forest. There, I saw Mu Changzhou. He was practicing his swordplay. Every move was like flowing water. superb and masterful. Accustomed to refined and gentle men, I was deeply attracted by his vigorous form for the first time. But every move of his was fierce, as if he were venting suppressed anger. With the final strike, his sword spun in a circle, and the peach blossoms and broken twigs fell at the sound. He stopped, panting, amidst the rain of petals, turning to see me staring at him in a daze. My shoulders and hair covered in pink fragments. You've destroyed all the flowers. What will my sister and I admire later? After a long silence, I only managed to say that one silly thing. Little girl, is your sister doing well? I already know about that matter. A wave of grievance suddenly rose in my heart for my sister. So I pouted and said, Sister is extremely sad. She cries at home every day. It's all because of that jerk. Mu Changzhou punched the tree trunk beside him, and more peach blossoms fell onto me in clusters. Little girl, can you do something for me? Under the influence of his gaze, I did something foolish. When I led my sister to the peach forest under the guise of a stroll, she saw Mu Changzhou, who had been waiting for a long time. As soon as she saw him, she turned to leave. But he hurriedly blocked her path. Qing'er, I heard he failed you. Are you all right? Impudence. How dare you call me by my personal name? My sister abandoned her usual gentleness, and said sharply and coldly, You. Don't be angry, my heart is true to you. If he doesn't know how to cherish you, what are you complaining about? Are you going to elope with me? Sister's cold voice was like a knife. I am a married woman, and the esteemed fourth prince's consort. You have no regard for propriety or shame, no regard for my reputation. Deceiving my younger sister to arrange a private meeting. For your own selfish desires. You put me in a dangerous position. Is this your so-called true heart? Mu Changzhou was panicked. I was reckless and didn't consider everything. Truly because I couldn't bear to see you suffer. Today, if you say the word, I would rather abandon my family and reputation, just to take you far away. But did you ever ask if I was willing? Let's make things clear today. I have never favored you for a single day. Even if Zhaoying fails me, that is a matter between us. What does it have to do with you? I am his primary consort. I will not only enjoy the comfort he brings me, but also bear responsibilities with him, and share the storms together. If you truly care for me at all, please do not disturb me ever again. Having said that, sister took my hand and left without looking back. I couldn't help but turn back to look. And Mu Changzhou behind us looked as if he'd been drained of his soul, collapsing to his knees on the ground, his face filled with bitterness and sorrow. On the carriage, I carefully tugged at my sister's sleeve, asking her not to be angry. Sister, I'm sorry. Sister kept a stern face, but after a moment, she pulled me into her arms with a sigh. You little dummy. You were used and didn't even know it. I hid in her arms and whispered. But Mu Changzhou seems to truly like you, sister. Sister gave my nose an amused flick. You little girl. What do you know about liking someone? Let me tell you. If someone truly likes you, they will consider everything for your sake, rather than putting you in danger due to an impulse. Mu Changzhou is just young and vigorous, and unwilling to accept my refusal. I nodded as if I understood, but then shook my head again. After returning home, sister seemed to have suddenly come to her senses. She packed her things to return to the fourth prince's manor. Brother-in-law heard the news, and immediately came running to pick her up. The two of them held hands, crying and laughing, making mother shake her head at the sight. Not long after sister returned, she began arranging for brother-in-law to marry the secondary consort. I heard she was dignified and poised, handling everything perfectly. Mother held me inside. Your sister has indeed matured. I just don't know when mother's little bower will finally grow up. Unlike my gentle and steady sister, I had been a little monkey since I was a child. Plus, with the large age gap, the whole family pampered and spoiled me. Therefore, my parents didn't bind me with those strict rules and etiquette. I don't expect you to bring great honor to the family, mother said. As long as you are happy and satisfied, that's enough. So, when I proposed to learn martial arts and weaponry, my parents didn't object. They even hired the best master for me. Little did they know, that day under the rain of peach blossoms, that young man's figure had become unforgettable in my heart. I wanted to be free and uninhibited like him, as dazzling as the sun. It felt as if only by doing so, could I get a bit closer to him. Another year passed, and my sister became pregnant. The fourth prince's manor was decorated with lanterns, and the Gu family was filled with joy. That year, Mu Changzhou again refused the marriage his family arranged, and insisted on going to the northern border to serve. The day he left, I went to see him off alone, without telling my family. Little girl, why did you run out here again? He asked casually. After a year of hard training, I had grown quite a bit taller, finally reaching up to his chest. Thinking it might be hard to see him again in the future, I gathered all my courage. Mu Changzhou, I like you. In the future, I want to marry you and be your wife. It was as if he had heard the world's biggest joke. His eyes widened in surprise. I was exactly 10 years old then. Just like other girls of that age. Wearing my hair in 2 cute little buns. He reached out again to tug one of my hair buns. Unable to stop himself from laughing. Little girl. Do you even know what love is? Hurry home and go nurse from your mother. I felt a massive sense of humiliation. With red eyes and a trembling voice, I said. You're a bully. I'm already 10 years old. I haven't nursed in a long time. Wait until I grow up and come find you. I definitely won't be any worse than my sister. Upon hearing sister, he froze. And a trace of bitter tenderness appeared on his face. In my heart, no one can compare to her. He took one last lingering look at the road behind me. Then turned and mounted his horse. Little girl. Go back quickly. The adults in your house will be worried in a moment. With that, he galloped away without looking back. I stomped my feet hard behind him. Mu Changzhou, you just wait. One day, you will finally see me. When my little nephew was nearly 4, the threshold of the Prime Minister's manor was again nearly broken by matchmakers. I had reached my coming-of-age year, and had grown into a slender lady famous throughout the capital. At 14 years old, I was almost taller than my sister. After several years of experience, my sister, now a mother, exuded the dignified and elegant aura of a princess consort, while I was as bright and vibrant as the sun, with a hearty laugh, and a brisk pace. The 4th prince and sister often teased me, saying that from afar, I looked like a refined lady, but up close, I was a whirlwind, never sitting still for a moment. I stuck out my tongue at them, but I was very proud in my heart. Over these years, I had unconsciously begun to imitate Mu Changzhou. I heard he was valiant and peerless on the battlefield, achieving illustrious military merits, fighting as if his life didn't matter. Though he hadn't returned to the capital for a long time, the name of young General Mu had already spread throughout the city. In my heart, I had many times imagined his vigorous figure, sitting high on his horse. I didn't want to be like other delicate noble ladies. I always felt, only a bright and noble woman like a cool breeze would be worthy of him. Normally, I didn't care for those poetry collections or art albums, but instead couldn't put down books on military strategy. Haha, what girl likes to study military strategy? He surely didn't know my thoughts. In the future, I would be a general's wife, so I must be able to help him, and not hold him back. Just as sister supported my brother-in-law. I kept writing letters to him, though I never received a reply. But I was not discouraged. I had been waiting for when he no longer thought of me as a little nursing child, waiting for the day I could stand by his side, waiting for him to return in fine clothes on a spirited horse, with a long wedding procession, coming to take me as his bride. That scene had appeared in my dreams countless times. For this, I had rejected almost all the suitors who came to our door. My parents thought I was still young, and didn't pay much attention. But Mu Changzhou's return shattered all of this. That year, he returned to the capital for the first time, after Shuji got the news. I was so excited I couldn't sleep for 3 nights. I dressed up in my finest attire, and rode my horse to the city gate to meet him. The harsh winds and frost of the border had carved his face into something more resolute and mature. Those eyes that once sparkled like stars had also grown deep and profound. Mu Changzhou. I galloped to his side, beaming a brilliant smile at him. He stared at me in a daze for a long while, before it suddenly dawned on him. The little girl of the Gu family? What little girl? I have a name. Remember, my name is Gu Yunjing. You've grown up, that's for sure. But your quick-tempered personality hasn't changed at all. I froze for a moment. It turned out he still remembered those trivial bits and pieces of my past. I couldn't help but feel my face flush slightly. I gathered all my courage. Mu Changzhou, when you left the capital that year, do you still remember what I said to you? I want to tell you that even to this day, my heart remains unchanged. I am only waiting for your answer. An unreadable glint flashed in his eyes. What words? This general does not remember. He turned his horse's head and brushed past me. Go home quickly, little girl. The adults in your house will be worried again. His guards followed suit immediately. The troop kicked up a cloud of dust, leaving me far behind. Angry, I squeezed the horse's flanks. Mu Changzhou. You're a bully again. I returned to the manor in a huff, and immediately pleaded with my mother. Please, go to the general's manor and propose marriage. I like Mu Changzhou. My father and mother were shocked. Only then did they realize why I had rejected so many marriage proposals. It was because I already had someone in my heart. Mu Changzhou? How can this be? He is nearly 10 years older than you. And back then, he even asked for your sister's hand. There are so many fine young men in the capital. Why must Bauer set her heart on him? I stomped my feet. Bauer doesn't care. I only want to marry him. Otherwise, I'll stay unmarried for the rest of my life. My parents had no choice. but to call my sister back. When I saw her coming, I was still sulking. Is sister here today to persuade me not to marry Muchangjo as well? It was my oversight. I didn't realize back then that you had feelings for him. And I always just treated you like a child. I know, sister, but I'm not a child anymore. I beg of you, let me marry him. I came here today precisely to persuade you to give up on this idea. According to your brother-in-law, the emperor recalled Muchangjo to the capital this time, with the intention of marrying Princess Xiaohua to him. It felt like a bolt from the blue. Princess Xiaohua? How could I ever compete with her? Once the imperial decree is issued, there will be no room for reversal. I desperately grabbed my sister's sleeve. Sister, please help me. Can you ask brother-in-law to speak to the emperor? The emperor has this intention. Firstly, because he values talent. And secondly, because of young General Mu's military power. Only by him becoming the emperor's son-in-law can the emperor feel at ease. My head throbbed with a splitting pain. My thoughts were like a tangled mess of yarn. What about him? Would he also be willing to marry the princess? Before my eyes, that scene in the peach grove appeared again. He was soul-shaken, watching our figures as we walked away. His past words echoed in my ears once more. Today, if you say the word, I would rather abandon my family and reputation, just to take you far away. Was he still that same deeply devoted youth, who would risk everything for the one he loved? But when I secretly escaped the house and found him, to ask this question in person, Muchangjo, would you still risk everything for the one you love? He didn't even lift his eyelids. Of course not. You're not your sister, after all. By then, he had changed out of his battlefield armor, and was wearing a luxurious, wide-sleeved robe. In his expression, there was less sharpness, and more of a lazy air. He didn't seem to be the person in my memory anymore, that passionate and untamable youth. A sharp pain pierced my heart, but I unwillingly asked, are you really willing to marry someone you don't love? He let out a scoffing laugh. Who says I don't like the princess? Little girl, don't be so self-important. I suddenly felt an extraordinary sense of grievance. But you clearly said that no one could compare to my sister. Don't you know that people change? Besides, I never promised you anything. It was just your own wishful thinking, you liar. Give me back all the letters I wrote to you. I threw them away long ago. Useless things. Why keep them? I returned home in a daze. And I, who had always been healthy, suddenly fell ill. In my delirium, only those cold words echoed in my head. It was just my own wishful thinking. Yes, over all these years. It was just my one-sided obsession. He hadn't responded to even a single word. Between moments of clarity and drifting off to sleep, I only remembered my parents' worried faces and the way my sister wept. After recovering, I remained despondent. My sister tried many times to take me out to cheer up, but I refused them all. Until that day, when I heard that Princess Xiaohua would also attend the banquet, I suddenly found my spirit again. I wanted to go see what the woman who was to become Muchangjo's wife actually looked like, before I could even go looking for her. Princess Xiaohua took the initiative and came before us. Greetings to fourth sister-in-law. The princess gave a slight nod. I heard that before you married, you were the #1 beauty in the capital, with countless admirers at your feet. This remark was truly abrupt. The faces of everyone around us changed. Princess Xiaohua was the daughter of the noble consort, one of the emperor's most beloved daughters. She had an arrogant nature, and today she was clearly here to pick a fight. Although my sister was annoyed in her heart, her face remained calm. Where did the princess hear such nonsense? You are of noble blood. Even if others talk recklessly, you shouldn't listen to it. Normally, I'd just let it slide. But now father has ordered young General Mu to be my consort. And I heard that over the years, his feelings for fourth sister-in-law have been very deep, to the point of refusing to marry anyone else. I was just worried, afraid of tearing apart a pair of lovers. That's why I came to ask. I couldn't help but feel righteous indignation. My sister is not that kind of person. Does the princess have any evidence for saying this? Xiaohua, the princess only then noticed me standing beside my sister. So this is the second miss of the Gu family. Indeed, you have a fine appearance. But since there's such a large age gap between you and your sister, you might not be clear about the things that happened back then. How dare you be so certain? You clearly are just. Sister pulled me back. Her face darkened. Princess, watch your words. I have been married to the fourth prince for nearly 8 years. I've managed his household and raised our children without a single moment of negligence. The princess and I are sisters-in-law. We should be as one, sharing honor and disgrace. But today, the princess disregards royal dignity and uses groundless rumors to question me. I don't even know where to begin my defense. I can only go into the palace and beg the emperor, the empress, and the noble consort to take charge and grant me justice. Princess Xiaohua never imagined that the usually gentle fourth sister-in-law could have such a firm and resolute side. So, with an unnatural expression, she said, I just thought it was interesting. And asked on a whim, is it worth getting this angry, sister-in-law? Never mind, just act as if I never said it. On the way back, sister remained silent and didn't say a word. I knew she was still angry about what happened today. Sister, she suddenly turned around and said to me seriously, Bauer, you must quickly cut off your feelings for Mu Changzhou. Not a single word of this must ever get out. Princess Xiaohua is so arrogant and domineering, and so narrow-minded. She's already being relentless about things from years ago. If she knew about your feelings for Mu Changzhou, I'm afraid she would leave you with no place to stand in the capital. My heart sank further and further. Knowing my sister was right, I still felt some lingering unwillingness. How could such a willful, ill-mannered, and vengeful woman like Princess Xiaohua be worthy of such a good man like him? Sister saw through my thoughts and helplessly stroked my hair. Bauer, you and Mu Changzhou have such a large age gap. How could you truly understand him? He's just a part of your imagination and obsession. I leaned into my sister's embrace, closing my eyes without speaking. But in my heart, I silently murmured, that's not it. He really is a very, very good person. But the very next day, news spread of Mu Changzhou accompanying Princess Xiaohua on an excursion to Diju Temple. It was said that Mu Changzhou was very attentive, and that he and the princess seemed deeply in love. When my family and sister heard this, they mostly breathed a sigh of relief. But I felt as if a giant boulder was blocking my chest, making it hard to even breathe. I slipped out of the manor alone and went to my favorite weapon shop to see if they had any new items. Over the years, because of my martial arts training, I didn't care for jewelry, but had instead fallen in love with weapons. Every once in a while, I would have some custom made. As soon as the shopkeeper saw it was me, he eagerly brought out a short blade. I was in a bad mood, so I took it in my hand and made a few casual swings. I didn't notice someone coming in behind me. With a flash of cold light, that person quickly dodged, and the tip of the blade grazed his cheek. A few strands of hair fell to the ground. Any slower, and his nose would have been cut open. The shopkeeper's face turned pale with fear. I also hurried to apologize. The youth was tall and lean, with slightly dark skin, but his eyes were startlingly bright. He didn't have a look of fear on his face. This blade is indeed very sharp. There was a hint of admiration on his face. He turned and asked the shopkeeper, how much is this blade? I'll buy it for my sister. Oh. This blade was custom ordered by the second miss of the Gu family. If the young master likes it, you can order another one. How long will it take? About a month. I'm only staying in the capital for a few days. It seems I won't be able to get it. If you like this blade, I'll let you have it. Consider it my apology for what just happened. Such a good blade. Are you really willing to part with it? It's nothing. I'll just have them make another one for me. I live in the capital, after all. The youth was excited, and immediately had his attendant pay the silver. He even said he wanted to buy a jewel-encrusted dagger. I don't like those fancy, showy things. A weapon is best when it's practical. He nodded in agreement, and politely escorted me out the door. That day, I returned with empty hands. But my mood had lightened up. Perhaps it was because I helped a total stranger, and received his grateful gaze. But the good mood didn't last for more than a few days. News came from the palace that Consort Xian had been sent to the cold palace for a transgression, and the fourth prince was also implicated and confined to his manor. I secretly went to see my sister. Only then did I learn that it was the side consort Wang Yanhui, who secretly accused the fourth prince of forming a faction for private ends, working with Consort Xian from inside and out, with treasonous intent. My sister wept and said, your brother-in-law is such an honest man. How could he have treasonous intentions? This is clearly a framed charge. My parents and I also found it inconceivable. From years of being together and knowing him, we all knew the fourth prince had no ambitions. He only loved literature and refinement. An upright gentleman in perfect harmony with my sister. My sister had once gone to question Wang Yanhui. Why did you frame us? In all these years since I married into the fourth prince's manor, has his highness ever looked at me properly even once? You two are extraordinarily in love, but you treat me as if I don't exist, not even letting me conceive a child. What hope is there in such a life? It's better if we all perish together. My dear sister was left speechless. Although the fourth prince was forced to marry Wang Yanhui, to fulfill his promise to my sister, except for the wedding night and official names, he hadn't touched Wang Yanhui at all in all these years. If they didn't sleep together, how could they have children? Sister and brother-in-law also felt they owed her, so they didn't lack in any of the courtesy and respect she deserved. But Wang Yanhui was still disheartened, and her desire for revenge grew stronger and stronger. Because brother-in-law loved poetry, he had made friends with many scholars and refined guests over the years, among whom were many officials in the court. Once the seed of suspicion is planted in this kind of matter, it's very hard to clear one's name. Why did Wang Yanhui, who was fine, suddenly strike out? What do you think? Thinking of the role the noble consort played in this, sister and I both thought of the same person, Princess Xiaohua. It turns out, she had no intention of letting my sister go at all. At this critical juncture, the marriage proposal mission from the small border state of Beirong arrived in the capital. I heard. The marriage alliance had likely been agreed upon by the two countries long ago. This visit to the capital was for the formal wedding. Suddenly, it dawned on everyone. No wonder the emperor and the noble consort were in such a hurry to marry off the 20-year-old Princess Xiaohua to Mu Changzhou. She was the only unmarried princess of appropriate status in the palace. If they didn't do this, I'm afraid she would have been sent far away for the marriage alliance. Now, all the noble families in the capital with daughters of marriageable age panicked, fearing their daughters would be chosen by the mission to marry to the border in place of the princess. In less than half a month, news of these unmarried girls getting betrothed spread one after another. While my parents were worried about my sister and brother-in-law's situation, they were also busy looking for a match for me. The family was overwhelmed with trouble, and the Prime Minister's manor was in a state of panic. But I shut myself in my room for 3 whole days. After 3 days, I solemnly informed my parents, I am willing to marry in place of the princess. My mother nearly fainted upon hearing this. Even if you can't marry Mu Changzhou, you can't throw yourself away like this. Where do you place your parents and relatives? Father, mother. If Bauer said this has nothing to do with Mu Changzhou, would you two believe it? The 4th prince and my sister are facing disaster. Once the charge of treason is set, I'm afraid even the Prime Minister's manor won't be able to escape the connection. If at this time, the Prime Minister's manor proactively offers to enter the marriage alliance, solving the court's urgent problem, and using this merit to offset the fault, only then can the 4th prince's manor be safe, and the Prime Minister's manor be safe. Mother pulled me into her arms, weeping bitterly. You and your sister are both my heart's blood. How can I sacrifice one daughter for the sake of the other? I forcefully held back the tears in my eyes. I'm not doing this just for sister. This is for the greater good of the country. As a citizen of Great Yu, I sacrifice myself willingly. Our broad-mindedness and vision are far inferior to Bauer's. Having a daughter like this is a blessing for the Gu family and for Great Yu. That day in the imperial court, my father announced, the Gu family has a daughter, Yunjing, who is willing to marry into Beirong in place of the princess. Minister Gu, your daughter actually has such a noble heart. Whatever reward the Gu family wants, just speak your mind. My daughter says this is for the greater good of the nation. As a citizen of Great Yu, she should share the burdens of the country and the monarch. There is absolutely no selfish motive. The matter your majesty mentioned, this old minister understands. But the matter of the 4th prince is entirely up to your majesty's wise judgment. I would never dare to interfere. Please do not doubt it, your majesty. My daughter and I possess nothing but a heart of absolute sincerity. The emperor felt a bit ashamed alongside his relief. At this critical moment, to still doubt the Gu family's intentions would be visibly far too petty. A few days later, Gu Yunjin was conferred the title of Princess Chongning, to be married to the Beirong Crown Prince, Hu Yanji. The matter of the marriage alliance was set in stone. Unexpectedly, the first to oppose it after the news was announced was Mu Changzhou. That day, he rode his horse all the way in a hurry to the outside of the Gu Manor's inner gate, asking the servants several times to bring me out to meet him. His eyes were filled with anxiety and pain. Why did he ask me so haphazardly as soon as we met? Though I was surprised, I told him the truth, to save my sister and brother-in-law. You're lying. You're clearly just acting out of spite. You've had such a stubborn temper since you were little. The marriage alliance is a major affair. How can you be so impulsive? Hurry and have your father go, and ask the emperor to retract the decree. I find it a bit inconceivable. You grew up in the capital. Don't you know there's no such thing as retracting an imperial decree? Nonsense. This is absolute nonsense. Even if I rejected you, you can't take your lifelong happiness as a joke. Your family is just letting you do this? He thought my decision for the alliance was to spite him. My heart stirred. And I asked half-jokingly, you're so anxious. Could it be that you regret rejecting me back then? He choked for a good while before saying, don't overthink it. I just don't want someone to ruin their entire life because of me. My expression cooled down. Don't worry. This matter has nothing to do with you. Doing this for the country and my family was a decision made after careful consideration, without the slightest bit of spite. I know you feel it's unfair. I will find a way to deal with your sister's matter. A marriage alliance is not a child's game. Thinking that my sister's family's troubles all started because of him, my anger flared up. You'll deal with it? By currying favor with Princess Xiaohua? If it weren't for her, my sister and brother-in-law wouldn't have had to suffer such a false accusation. He suddenly clenched his fists. Don't underestimate my painstaking efforts. How could you possibly know? So you're saying I'm the one being inconsiderate of you? If you really want to save me, there is actually a way right now. It just depends on whether you're willing to agree. What way? If you marry me, Princess Xiaohua can go for the alliance. This should have been her responsibility anyway. After she's gone. Naturally, no one will make things hard for my sister and brother-in-law. Wouldn't that be killing two birds with one stone, Bauer? Do you think everyone is like you? Able to act so recklessly? I am no longer the Mu Chongzhou of those years, the one who would risk everything for love. I have my own concerns and considerations. I raised my hand to stop him from going further. My face calm and indifferent. But my heart grew cold bit by bit. Time had changed everything. Under that rain of peach blossoms, the young man of the Mu family who swore to take his beloved and fly far away no matter what, was never coming back. My dream was completely shattered, my heart felt no more waves. Thank you for your concern, young General Mu. But my mind is made up. From now on, our paths diverge over mountains and rivers. We shall never meet again. The day I left the capital, the occasion was unprecedented in its grandeur. The marriage alliance between Great Yu and Baron was a major event. It could prevent the fires of war and the suffering of the people at the border. The court took it very seriously. Even the emperor himself led the civil and military officials to see me off. I was dressed in a bright red wedding gown, wearing a phoenix crown adorned with 100 birds. The exact regalia of a first princess of the Great Yu. Princess Xiaohua stood beside the noble consort, her eyes flickering, with an unreadable expression. On the day I was conferred the title of princess, the fourth prince was released from his confinement, and consort Xian was also released from the cold palace, her rank fully restored. Though the Gu family hadn't said a word, the emperor couldn't be so heartless as to wound the heart of a loyal minister. Besides, as a princess sent for a marriage alliance, how could she have a brother-in-law intended for treason? When I paid my respects to Princess Xiaohua, she snorted coldly. Don't think just because father gave you a title, that you are a real princess. At the end of the day, you're just an imposter taking my place for the alliance. Princess Xiaohua was extremely overbearing, unable to stand anyone outshining her, even though she knew I was replacing her for the alliance. And she should have kept a low profile. She still couldn't help but provoke me. Seeing me remain silent, she escalated. To save your sister, you're willing to marry far away to the Baron people. You sisters really don't know what's good for you. Do you really think by sacrificing yourself, your sister can sleep soundly? The fourth prince is just a useless prince. As long as I stay in the capital, I have plenty of time to play with them. I was young and spirited, and had no intention of swallowing my anger. So I said loudly, watch your words, Princess Xiaohua. Baron is an ally of Great Yu. His Majesty is here in person today, specifically to foster goodwill between our two nations. As a noble princess yourself, how could you refer to the Baron as northern barbarians? As soon as I said this, the surrounding royal family and official kin all changed their expressions. Though everyone knew Princess Xiaohua was arrogant, they didn't realize she was so reckless and lacked all decorum, speaking so rudely on such a solemn occasion. Her mother, the noble consort, also looked terribly embarrassed. The empress, who always knew Xiaohua's character, reprimanded her with a cold face. Watch the occasion before throwing a tantrum. If even half a word of this reaches the emperor's ears today, can you bear the blame for sabotaging the alliance? Princess Xiaohua bit her lip hard. This was the first time she had been scolded in public. She wanted to flare up, but the noble consort pulled her forcefully, and only then did she notice the unkind gazes of everyone around her, forcing her to endure it. The handkerchief in her hand was nearly twisted to shreds. But I felt that wasn't enough. Why should Princess Xiaohua enjoy the benefits of my sacrifice, while threatening me in broad daylight? I lifted the tassels veiling my eyes, revealing my entire face to the public. A low murmur of astonishment rippled through the crowd. Princess Chongning is truly a peerless beauty. What a waste to let those foreigners have her. Amidst the admiring gazes of the crowd, I first bowed to the emperor, then knelt before my parents. I said clearly, since ancient times, loyalty and filial piety cannot both be served. Once I depart, I know not when I shall return. I only hope my parents will take care of their health, and not let me worry from afar. My parents were in tears. As they tremblingly helped me up, my gaze met my sister's behind them. This time, she came to see me off not as the fourth prince's wife, but as the eldest daughter of the Gu family. She looked thin and frail, as if about to collapse. Since the day she found out I volunteered for the alliance, she hadn't spent a single day without weeping in self-reproach. No matter how much she tried to persuade me, she couldn't make me change my mind. When she saw me look over, she gave a slight nod. I knew she was telling me not to worry, that she would take care of our parents. The watching commoners were already whispering among themselves. What? Is Princess Chongning not the emperor's daughter? I turned around, and gave a deep bow to all the citizens of the capital seeing me off. Though I am not a true princess raised by the people, His Majesty's grace is profound, granting me this title. As a daughter of Great Yu, I am willing to put the nation's righteousness first, and repay Great Yu for raising me with my own life. Gu Yunjing of the Gu family bids farewell to her hometown and kin here. The crowd erupted. Some wiped away tears of emotion, while others were filled with righteous indignation. So Princess Chongning is the Gu family's biological daughter, not the real princess. Doesn't the emperor have an unmarried daughter named Xiaohua? He's unwilling to send his own, so he lets another's daughter go in her place? Shu, keep your voice down. Do you want to die? What's there to fear? The Real Princess is supported by the people's taxes, but at the critical moment, she doesn't go for the alliance, instead making someone else's daughter the substitute. She enjoys all the blessings alone, but lets others suffer for her, and we're not allowed to speak of it? The emperor's face was not looking good at this point. Looking at Princess Xiaohua, she was hiding sheepishly behind the noble consort, fearing that people would notice. She was the real princess who only knew how to enjoy luxury. Meanwhile, the empress had an expression like she was watching a good show. With my identity made public, my connection to the fourth prince's estate was also known. In the future, if Princess Xiaohua wants to target my sister, she will have to fear the weight of public opinion. Having done all I could, I stepped forward to board the wedding sedan. Suddenly, someone in the crowd shouted, "Miss Gu, what noble righteousness! You are truly worthy of being Great Yu's Princess Chongning. We respectfully see off Princess Chongning. We respectfully see off Princess Chongning." Tears instantly blurred my eyes, and a surge of grand passion rose in my heart. Through the tears, I saw a familiar figure in the crowd. Mu Changzhou's face was pale, his jaw clenched tight, staring at me without blinking, with a complex, unspeakable expression. The Barong wedding envoy team was waiting outside the city. I left the sedan and boarded a spacious carriage. Just as I sat down, an envoy respectfully handed in a large wooden box. "Your Highness, our crown prince specifically instructed me to hand this to you personally. He knows you have never left Great Yu, and that you must feel uneasy on this journey. He hopes this object can provide you with temporary solace. He asked me to tell you, though Barong is far away, it is not entirely full of strangers." This crown prince was quite thoughtful. I opened the box curiously. Inside lay a pair of short swords. One had a hilt made of pure gold, engraved with a phoenix and paulownia pattern, exquisitely detailed. The other was simple in design. My eyes lit up. I picked up the simple sword and examined it for a long time. The image of the young man I met in the weapon shop appeared before me. It was actually him. The envoy breathed a sigh of relief upon seeing my expression. He smiled and said, "The crown prince said he will wait for you at the border, and will return to the Barong capital with you." A trace of warmth melted into my heart, dispelling the sorrow of just having bid farewell to my parents and homeland. A smile involuntarily curved my lips. I whispered, "The crown prince is very considerate. He indeed put in effort." Aside from the hilts, the rest of the two swords were identical. The blades were sharp, glinting with light. That new sword was clearly forged as an exact replica of the other one. It had only been a month since I first saw him. Calculating the time, after he somehow learned I was the one for the alliance, he must have immediately forged the other as a betrothal gift. In his eyes, I wasn't a tool for a marriage alliance, but a living person. Just for this alone, I had a bit of a good impression of him. Huyanji, I silently repeated the name in my heart, actually feeling a sense of anticipation for our future meeting. Not long after the alliance procession left the capital, I was resting with my eyes closed in the carriage. Suddenly, I heard a commotion outside, followed by the thundering sound of hooves from afar. A servant following nearby reported, "Young General Mu has arrived with his men." What was he here for? As soon as the words were spoken, a familiar voice came from outside. I am willing to escort the princess all the way to Barong." I raised an eyebrow. "Did the emperor send you?" "Unlikely. At this time, shouldn't he be staying in the capital, preparing for his wedding with Princess Xiaohua?" Sure enough, the voice outside was hesitant. "I came of my own accord. After the mission, I will return to the capital to ask for punishment. This person is truly strange. When I wanted him to stay with me, he made every excuse. Now that I no longer need him, he defies orders to come." Thinking of Princess Xiaohua's face, I couldn't help but get a headache. The original intention of my alliance, all my painstaking efforts and planning, might very well be ruined. Because of Mu Changzhou's current action. Thinking of this, not only was I not moved by his rash arrival, but I was actually somewhat speechless. "Young General Mu, please go back. His Majesty has arranged a specialized guard, and the Barong envoy team for the escort. I will be fine. Leaving the capital without permission will make Princess Xiaohua worry." My intention was to remind him of his status, to stop causing me trouble. Unexpectedly, he sighed. Are you still angry with me? Can we not mention her? I only want to properly escort you to the border of Great U. Is he unable to understand human speech? Or is his ego just too large? I felt a surge of annoyance. And couldn't help but say stiffly. Young General Mu. Do you distrust the guards appointed by His Majesty? By coming here privately like this? To those who don't know better, it looks as though I am being arrogant because of my favor. And lack all sense of decorum. When you act so willfully. Have you ever considered whether I am willing? His face shifted between shock and shame. Slowly lowering his head. I know you won't forgive me. It's my fault. I was being reckless. I ignored him. And ordered the procession to continue. Leaving him far behind. The journey went on for several days. And I was about to be shaken to pieces by the carriage. Mu Changzhou didn't leave. But followed along from a distance. I was too lazy to argue with him further. The scenery outside the window gradually became desolate. And feelings of parting sorrow and bleakness rose in my heart again. Just then. I suddenly heard the Barong envoy shout with joy, Your Highness. The Crown Prince has come to meet us. We hadn't even reached the border yet. How could he be so bold? I immediately lifted the carriage curtain. In the dust kicked up by hooves in the distance. A group of riders galloped toward us. The leader of the group stopped his horse. About 10 paces in front of my carriage. He was clad in bright armor. Looking heroic and valiant. With the royal insignia of Barong on his banner and sword. Highlighting his noble status. He was like a different person. From the simple youth I had seen that day, only those bright eyes. Whereas I remembered. When our eyes met. He gave a slight smile. We're nearing the border. And it's quite desolate here. I was afraid you wouldn't be used to it. So I rode out a few stages early to meet you. You don't blame my abruptness, do you? He didn't call himself this prince. Nor did he address me as princess. But used I and you, which felt much more intimate. I asked him half-jokingly. Since you knew my identity long ago. Don't you mind that I'm not the real princess? Ha ha ha, I would have minded originally. But after knowing it was you. I don't mind anymore. My face turned red. He asked softly, did you receive the pair of short swords? They were meant as a meeting gift. But fearing the long journey. And that you would be too sad leaving your parents. I told the envoy to give them to you in advance. Has your journey been well? I smiled and echoed his words. I was sad at first. But after knowing it was you. I'm not so sad anymore. Upon hearing this. His face also turned red. He nimbly dismounted his horse. Walked quickly to my carriage, adjusted his robes. And performed a solemn, equal status greeting. Although this is our second meeting. I haven't introduced myself properly. I am Huyanji of Barong. Greetings, Mississippi. I also hurried to return the solemn greeting. I am Gu Yunjing, daughter of Chancellor Gu of Great Yu. Greetings, Crown Prince. Huyanji looked at me seriously. Since you do not reject me, Miss Gu. I am fortunate to marry such a beauty. If you are willing. You may call me AG. And I will call you Yunjing. Is that alright? G. Yunjing. I repeated the names in my mind. Feeling very happy. He didn't sound like a foreign crown prince. I had never met. But like a childhood friend from next door. Life's encounters are truly bizarre like that. Some people are right beside you. Yet as unreachable as the moon in the sky. While others, though met for the first time, feel as though you have known them for a long time. The gloom accumulated in my heart over the past few days was swept away. I only wanted to happily get out of the carriage and stretch my body. Huyanji seemed to read my mind. He ordered someone to lead a horse over. That day in the weapon shop. I could see that Yunjing was a martial artist. Riding a horse should be no problem for you. You must have been stifled in there these past few days. Are you willing to ride with me to Barong? May I? My eyes lit up. Sitting in the carriage these few days. My bones were practically rusting, but before we left. The ritual official gave me 1,000 instructions, that I represent the face of Great Yu. And must never lose decorum. So I could only patiently sit properly the whole time. He winked at me. I'm the one who broke the rules first anyway. Entering Great Yu's border privately to receive the bride. When the time comes, no one can blame you. I immediately jumped up. There were riding clothes in the luggage. But taking them out would be too much trouble. Huyanji had actually prepared all of this for me. I shed the heavy princess gown. Changed into light armor. And stood side by side with him on horseback. Mu Changzhou, following far behind. Must have seen the situation over here long ago. But because he was too far, I couldn't see his expression. I only knew he stood there without moving an inch. Now he should finally return to the capital, right? Huyanji reached out with a pleased gesture. I took the lead and galloped away. The figure on the ranch behind me slowly turned into a small black dot. And soon vanished completely. Traveling with Huyanji, stopping here and there. We saw the bright moon over the mountain pass, and witnessed the majesty of the great desert. In a few days of travel, I saw scenery I had never seen in my entire life. When we neared the Barong capital, I suddenly realized I had spent a month with him. Through this month of being together day and night, the last bit of strangeness between us had completely disappeared. It was replaced by mutual admiration and a silent understanding. The night before entering the capital, he had to part with me briefly. Tomorrow you will be sent into the capital. I will go to the capital first to prepare, and then come to marry you. He looked at me with a steady gaze. I have arranged everything. Just enter the capital with peace of mind. Father and mother are both wonderful people. You will surely like them. I nodded gently, feeling an unprecedented sense of peace and fulfillment. Before dawn the next day, I was attended by palace maids to bathe and dress, putting on the princess wedding gown once more, and wearing the phoenix crown. As daylight broke, the northern gate opened wide. The Barong royal wedding procession marched out of the city gate in a grand manner. Huyanji was dressed in his crown prince attire, waiting at the gate to receive me. Then, the great Yu princess's wedding procession slowly entered the city. Within the capital, colorful banners fluttered, and ritual music played in unison. All the citizens of the city, as well as the royalty and nobility, came to witness the ceremony. This royal wedding was both grand and solemn. After announcing it to heaven and the ancestors, I received the crown princess seal and stood with Huyanji to kneel and perform the ceremony before the Barong emperor and empress. From that moment on, I officially became Huyanji's wife, the crown princess of Barong. The crown prince's manor that day was decorated with lanterns and streamers, filled with a joyful atmosphere. In the bridal chamber, the dragon and phoenix candles burned through the night. Huyanji and I also stayed awake almost the entire night. The month of knowing and understanding each other had already made us perfectly harmonious and inseparable. Waking up the next morning, when our eyes met, my face turned red with shyness. He smiled and said, "Crown Princess, are you tired? Do you have the strength to practice swords with your husband for a while? To stretch your muscles? How can a martial artist be so delicate? Though my body is a bit tired, my spirit is very good." Huyanji took out the pair of short swords that were the meeting gifts from a brocade box. He pointed the one that belonged to me and I held mine. Back and forth, we went for dozens of rounds. The manor servant stopped to watch, sighing that the prince and princess indeed share the same interests and are evenly matched. Suddenly, a playful voice came from behind. "Well, brother is using the thing he was going to give me to please my sister-in-law. Don't mind this little girl. She's my younger sister. You can just call her Duor." So this was Huyanji's sister, Barong Princess Huyanduo. She ran forward without any shyness, shaking my sleeve. "Sister-in-law, brother originally said he would give me that sword. But after he knew he was marrying you, he took it back overnight. He wouldn't even let me touch it." Huyanji was a bit embarrassed at being exposed by his sister, and glared at her, telling her not to talk nonsense. Huyanduo made a face at him, looking at the princess's unreserved, spoiled manner. I seemed to see my younger self, the way I was in front of the fourth prince and my sister. A smile involuntarily spread across my face. I hugged Huyanduo and told her with a smile that I had specially prepared top-quality, exquisite, and handy weapons for her. She was overjoyed. "Sister-in-law loves me more." Seeing her jumping and following behind me, Huyanji's expression became even more tender. Life after marriage was exceptionally busy. As the crown princess, I naturally couldn't just hide in the manor and live my own little life. I accompanied Huyanji to inspect the countryside, to observe the people's conditions. Barong's land was poor and often suffered from drought. I distributed seeds I had brought from Great Yu, and ordered the agricultural officials I brought to teach the Barong people how to sow step by step. I personally supervised the craftsmen skilled in water conservancy from Great Yu to help the local people build water storage and irrigation projects. What I saw with Huyanji on the journey here, the customs and conditions, made me think of another good way to strengthen the country and enrich the people. So I submitted a memorial to the Great Yu court, requesting to expand trade routes and open more courier stations to facilitate traveling merchants. Permission was granted quickly. The people had something to look forward to, and my prestige in Barong grew day by day. Huyanji admired me more and more. He said jokingly, "Yunjing, the people are all saying you are a goddess descended from heaven." I was embarrassed by his praise, and thinking of what my sister once said, I said seriously, "We are husband and wife, a single entity. I cannot just enjoy the honor you bring me. I must also share the common responsibilities with you." His gaze towards me became even deeper. "Yunjing, you truly were sent to my side by heaven." The crown prince and I lived in perfect harmony. And when the news of being loved by the people reached Great Yu, my parents and sister were all exceptionally relieved and happy. Suddenly one day, my sister wrote to tell me that Mu Changzhou had rejected the marriage to Princess Xiaohua, insisting on going to the northern border to station there. His actions angered the emperor and the princess. The emperor threatened to revoke his military power. But Mu Changzhou remained unmoved, preferring to use the status of an ordinary soldier to guard the border pass. I heard Princess Xiaohua cried and caused a scene, using threats and inducements, throwing the Mu family into total chaos. Even my sister was nearly caught in the crossfire. In the end, they still couldn't keep Mu Changzhou. Mu Changzhou was demoted several ranks, and left for the border as a centurion. My sister's letter urged me to be careful of Princess Xiaohua's revenge, because the town where Mu Changzhou was stationed was precisely the strategic border town facing Beirong. Plus, regarding the previous matter of Mu Changzhou secretly escorting me for the marriage, Princess Xiaohua would surely settle this debt. On my head. In the past, I don't know how moved I would have been. I would have supported him without hesitation. Now, I only feel it is an endless amount of trouble. He's at the age to be a father. So why does Mu Changzhou still act so impulsively without considering the consequences? Besides, if he wants to court death himself, so be it. But he always drags innocent people into it. Before it was my sister. And now it is me. When all the halo has faded, I finally realized that the man who was perfect as a god in my heart was just an ordinary man. Ultimately, it's because I no longer love him. Mu Changzhou's actions were crazy enough, but I didn't expect Princess Xiaohua to be even crazier than him. She actually chased him all the way to the border city, surrounding him every day, demanding an explanation. This left the border generals in constant fear and exhausted from dealing with her, terrified of accidentally neglecting this royal princess. I originally thought that since I was already in Beirong, no matter how willful Princess Xiaohua was, she couldn't do anything to me. But I still underestimated her paranoia and madness. That day, I went out alone, but was lured by a token from my old residence to a secluded small alley. The person opposite me was wrapped in a large black cloak. After taking off the tightly wrapped hood, a familiar face was revealed. Princess Xiaohua. I was greatly shocked. She actually crossed the border privately and sneaked into the capital of Beirong. What are you doing here? Gu Yunjing. Did you think that by hiding in Beirong, this princess couldn't do anything to you? I really looked down on you before. It turns out you and your sister are the same. Both are seductive temptresses. People who bewitch the hearts of others. I have come today to expose your true face in front of everyone and ruin your reputation. She held up an envelope. The paper had already turned yellow, but the handwriting was very familiar. They were exactly the letters I had once written to Mu Changzhou. It turns out he hadn't destroyed these letters, and they finally fell into Princess Xiaohua's hands. My breathing became heavy. Although I firmly believed in the love and trust between Hu Yanji and me, no one could be completely indifferent to the fact that their wife had once admired another man. Moreover, he was the noble crown prince of Beirong. What exactly do you want? I am going to deliver these letters to Hu Yanji to let him see how his beloved crown princess said such disgusting and lowly things to another man. I remembered the contents of those letters very clearly. Although they expressed my feelings, I still behaved with propriety, and they were not as vulgar as she claimed. Even so, I still clenched my hands in nervousness. By doing this, aside from venting your anger, what benefit is there to the harmony between the two countries? The court and the people have sacrificed so much for this. As a princess, do you really not care at all? Don't play the hero here. You are just this princess's substitute and a marriage tool. Do you really consider yourself a princess? I'm telling you today, if I'm not having a good time, then no one will. A person suddenly stepped out from behind the princess. It was actually Mu Changzhou in disguise. Princess, stop. All of this is my fault. It has nothing to do with anyone else. I pleaded with you bitterly. And you ignored me. Now that it involves this seductive troublemaker, you are actually willing to take such a big risk. And you still say there is nothing between you two. The moment I saw Mu Changzhou, I knew things had gone bad. His action could only provoke Xiaohua further. Go away. Princess Xiaohua laughed loudly. It's too late. I deliberately revealed my whereabouts, just to see if he would follow. Since you care about her so much, no one is leaving unscathed today. A few letters alone might not be enough to make Hu Yanji believe me. But if he sees the two of you together with his own eyes, and sees Mu Changzhou risking his life for you, what will he think then? Right at that moment, a cold voice came from behind. Princess Xiaohua went through such trouble to lure me here, just so I could see you acting like a madwoman? I turned my head abruptly, only to see Hu Yanji standing behind me. Seeing him, a surge of grievance actually welled up in my heart, and I involuntarily walked towards him. He naturally held my hand, and gave me a reassuring look. How affectionate. But does the crown prince know that your beloved crown princess has another man in her heart? The evidence is right here. Your highness can see for yourself if you don't believe it. Hu Yanji took the letters Glanced at them. Just these things? Are they worth Princess Xiaohua making such a fuss? Running all the way to my barrel? You don't mind? Princess Xiaohua, from the moment you left Great Yu's border city, you have been under my very nose. I know everything you have done. This trick of planting evidence and framing others doesn't work all the time. In my eyes, Hu Yanji had always been a gentle and understanding refined gentleman. But at this moment, that decisive and killing intent of someone in total control was fully exposed. Yunjing, there's no need to entangle further with a mad person, lest it soil your eyes. Follow me back to the manor. Wait. Mu Changzhou, from behind, called out to Hu Yanji, who was about to leave with me. I watched Bauer grow up. I entrust her to you from now on. You must treat her well. Hu Yanji turned his head. My own wife does not need an outsider like you to worry about her. You should reflect on yourself instead. To bring her so much trouble. This is not deep affection. It is incompetence. Mu Changzhou stared with wide eyes, speechless. I suddenly thought of what my sister once said. If someone truly likes you, they will consider everything for you, rather than putting you in danger due to a moment of impulse. Just like Hu Yanji. Before I even joined Barong, he found ways to soothe my emotions, created opportunities for me to get to know him, settled my family, and made us more harmonious with each other. Unlike Mu Changzhou, whose seemingly passionate recklessness plunged me into trouble several times. My sister's ability to judge character is far above mine. Back then, she could already see that Mu Changzhou's personality made him no good for me. Thinking the matter was over, Hu Yanji did not pursue Princess Xiaohua's crime of secretly sneaking into Barong, hoping she would stay quiet for a while. Who knew she would lose her mind completely? After returning to Great Yu, she actually reported to the emperor, saying Barong sent spies to sneak into Great Yu's border city, and that they even injured her. Her words were full of holes. But for some reason, the emperor actually believed them. Becoming suspicious of Barong, he increased troops at the border to confront Barong, disregarding the trust and exchange the two countries just built. Because I was the crown princess of Barong, Princess Xiaohua actually persuaded the emperor to put the Gu family and the fourth prince's manor under house arrest, to prevent them from colluding with Barong. As the border situation became tense, panic also began to spread in Barong. People within the royal family began to question me. I knew that once the two countries went to war, I would be the enemy country's princess, and might even be sacrificed to the banners. Only Hu Yanji and Hu Yanduo protected me. They kept comforting me, saying they would definitely keep me safe. But I knew that, as the crown prince of Barong and the future ruler, too many eyes were watching Hu Yanji. His every move had to be prudent. On one side was my homeland and family. On the other side was my beloved husband. I couldn't imagine the scene of them killing each other. Where would I stand then? Hu Yanji saw my suffering. He pulled me into his arms and sighed. I looked at him with eyes full of tears. AG, if we cannot stop the war between the two countries, I will commit suicide before the battle ranks. Even if I can't stop it, at least let me die with my family. Silly girl, what can your death solve? The biggest problem now is the mad Princess Xiaohua, and your emperor who is even willing to believe a madwoman's words. Even my sister, brother-in-law, and parents are all under house arrest as spies. For a personal grudge, Princess Xiaohua actually uses such unscrupulous means. And the emperor is even more biased. If this continues, Great Yu will be finished. He squinted his eyes thoughtfully. I heard your brother-in-law, the fourth prince, is a gentleman who cares for the people's livelihood, and has upright character. Since the current emperor of Great Yu is so muddled, it would be better to have someone else do it. I looked at him in shock. AG, what are you going to do? Yunjing, trust me. Barong desires peace more than any other country. We know that when war begins, only the common people suffer. Whether Great Yu people or Barong people, none should be sacrifices for power. I am their crown prince. I will never act recklessly for half my life. I nodded my head in trust. Are you trying to make up for your regret regarding me? Or the regret of once loving my sister but not being with her? He was stunned. If you had said these words to me in the past, I would have been ecstatic, and followed you without hesitation. Unfortunately, I met Hu Yanji, and only then did I learn what truly loving someone should be like. Mu Changzhou's expression changed suddenly, looking at me in disbelief. Have you ever thought about what would happen if I left with you today? In Barong, the charge of being an enemy spy would be confirmed. Hu Yanji would be criticized for poor judgment, and even questioned on his ability as the successor. Originally, the situation between the two countries wasn't set in stone. If I flee, it would inevitably become the fuse for war. By then, the people will be devastated, the mountains and rivers broken. And I would be the chief culprit bringing disaster to the nation. Once war starts, would Princess Xiaohua ever let my family go? The Gu family and my sister's family would lose their lives instantly. With every word I spoke, Mu Changzhou's face grew a shade paler. In my heart, I only wanted to save you. I didn't think that much. You indeed didn't think that much. You only thought about making up for the regret in your own heart, but never truly considered others. You were like this with my sister before, and you are the same with me now. Bauer. He stepped back involuntarily. Why do you think of me like this? I came with all my heart to save you. I looked at him calmly. Thank you for your painstaking effort. But today, I might as well tell you my feelings too. I did once fancy you, and thought I would marry no one else but you. But I only know now that it was just a young girl's ignorance, an imagination and obsession with romantic feelings. He looked at me, eyes full of remorse and regret. AG trusts me unconditionally, and I trust him too. I will not abandon him when disaster strikes. To let him be disappointed and sad. Mu Changzhou retreated a few steps, heartbroken beyond words. You really trust him that much? Yes, firmly. I know that no matter when or where, AG is someone I can trust. The situation at the border grew increasingly tense. Huyanji also became very busy, often not being seen for several days. I stayed behind closed doors in the Crown Prince's manor, and outsiders had no idea what was happening with me. One night, just as I was about to blow out the lamp for bed, I suddenly saw a shadow outside the window. Bauer. It's me. Are you okay? It was Mu Changzhou. What was he doing here again? I hurriedly opened the window, only to see him dressed in night-traveling attire, squatting on the windowsill. The moment he saw me, his features relaxed. It's great that you're okay. I thought you were. What did you think? I looked at him warily. Seeing that no one around noticed, he lightly leaped into the room. I thought the Baron people were making things difficult for you. There are rumors outside that Huyanji has imprisoned you. I am very well, and no one has imprisoned me. But you. Why aren't you staying properly in the border city at this critical juncture? What are you doing in Baron? I'm here to save you. Once the war starts, as the Princess of Great Yu, you will definitely be sacrificed. Why not take this chance and follow me now? He reached out to pull me, but I stepped back. Follow you, and then what? Then, he obviously hadn't thought about it. Forget it, I can't worry about that much. Let's get out first. Princess Xiaohua hates me to the core. If I defect from Baron, I can't return to Great Yu either. Are we supposed to go into seclusion in some deep mountain forest together? What's wrong with that? You won't be some troublesome princess. And I won't be a useless general whose power was stripped. I have strength. I can definitely support you. Seeing my furrowed brows and silence, he said urgently, Bauer. Back then when you came to beg me not to marry Xiaohua, I had unavoidable difficulties. But later, I really regretted it. Watching you board the wedding carriage for the marriage alliance. I hated my own indecisiveness. And my inability to protect you. Later, knowing Huyanji treated you well, I swore I would silently watch over you for the rest of my life. As long as you lived well, I would have no regrets. But now he can't protect you. I cannot watch you suffer and do nothing. His eyes were bright. His face glowing with unprecedented spirit. Bauer, come with me. This time, I want to make up for all past mistakes and regrets. He looked at me with expectation, but I remained unmoved and composed. The confrontation between Great Yu and Baron lasted for a year. During this year, Great Yu took no further action. The reason was simple. The Emperor of Great Yu was old, and the struggle for the throne reached a fever pitch. The princes fought, but many fell one after another. Under various charges, some were beheaded, while others were exiled to remote lands. In the end, it was actually the usually low-profile fourth prince who took advantage of the situation. Because of an old grudge with the fourth prince, Princess Xiaohua tried to harm him several times but was caught red-handed. Now she has been stripped of her princess title, demoted to a commoner, and imprisoned for life, unable to stir up trouble ever again. As for my brother-in-law, the fourth prince, due to his reputation among the civil officials, and his political ideas of enriching the country and the people, he was supported by many court officials. This was also something he had never expected. The twists and dangers during this period are hard to describe. Though far away in Baron, I knew everything clearly. Because my husband, Baron Crown Prince Huyanji, had been secretly supporting the fourth prince. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say he used Baron's national power to push the fourth prince onto the throne. What surprised me most was my sister. In this treacherous and unpredictable struggle, she showed unprecedented calm, decisiveness, and cunning. She once wrote me a secret letter. Previously, I had done everything to protect her and the Gu family. Now it was her turn. Rather than being meat on the chopping block, it was better to put up a fight. Even if the end was life or death, she would have no regrets. I was deeply shaken, and became even more determined to help Huyanji support the fourth prince's ascension to the throne. In the end, my sister won. with the posture of the empress of a nation. She stood side by side with my brother-in-law. In this life-or-death battle, her bond with my brother-in-law grew even deeper, so much so that when he later ascended the throne, and officials petitioned to fill the imperial harem, he refused them all. I have my empress. That is enough for this life. The first thing the fourth prince did after ascending was to take the empress on a tour of the border, to reward the three armies. A grand banquet was held at the border city, inviting the Baron crown prince and princess to celebrate. They signed an agreement for trade and exchange between the two nations. From then on, civilian interaction between Great Yu and Baron became even more unimpeded. In fact, my brother-in-law and Huyanji also had a selfish motive. That was to create an opportunity for us sisters to reunite. When we met, my sister and I wept in each other's arms. She relived me by stroking my hair. Sister's little bower has finally grown up. Now you are a crown princess who can stand on her own. When Huyanji rules the world one day, you will surely be a good queen who loves the people like her own. I nodded vigorously. With my sister as a model, in the future, I would certainly be a good queen. My sister looked up at someone behind me, smiling as she said, "He treats you so well. I will tell our parents when I return, so they can rest easy." I turned my head, and saw Huyanji, standing next to my brother-in-law not far behind me. He smiled slightly when he saw me look over. I know that everything before me is inseparable from his painstaking planning. I remember during the hardest time of the throne struggle, Huyanji even risked danger to sneak into Great Yu several times to help my brother-in-law. I asked him, "Since it's so dangerous, why do you still do it? No matter who ascends in the future, there will be variables for you. Only if your brother-in-law ascends, and your sister becomes the Empress of Great Yu, will you be completely safe." Afraid I'd feel guilty, he added quickly, "It's not entirely for you. It's also to preserve the peace of Baron. At least while you sisters are in power, the two countries will definitely not go to war, and the people can live and work in peace." I hugged him tightly. "To have your devoted protection is the greatest fortune of my life." After this soul-stirring struggle ended, I can stand beside him deservedly, accepting the congratulations of the officials and people. Back at the border city, I never saw Muchangjo again. I heard that, on the day he learned my brother-in-law had ascended the throne, he volunteered to be stationed at the southern border. Before leaving, he asked someone to bring me a message. He said, "Now I finally understand what you meant. The one you trusted indeed did not fail you. I am no match for him." The messenger was bewildered, but only I understood his meaning. I heard that he used his military merits for a minor post in the south, then brought his elderly parents, who were far away in the capital, to live with him. Back then, because of the rejected marriage proposal, Princess Xiaohua had tormented Muchangzhou's family relentlessly. Since she couldn't reach him, she took all her anger out on his parents. This caused the Mu family to lose its former glory, leaving them in a miserable state for a time. Now, Muchangzhou finally realized the consequences his impulsiveness had brought upon his family. He is willing to spend the rest of his life making amends. This, in a way, is a sign of his growth. Everyone must eventually mature. But for him, maturity came far too late. He had already missed out on too much. I wonder if he feels any regret. My childhood obsessions and the past have vanished like the wind. Now, I no longer have the energy to worry about anything else. A few years after my brother-in-law ascended the throne, the Emperor of Baron passed away. Huyanji officially became the new Emperor of Baron, and I became the Empress of Baron. Baron is a small nation, so the Empress is also allowed to participate in politics. He and I support each other in governing the country, with a clear division of labor, aiming to turn Baron into a prosperous and wealthy land. During the reigns of my brother-in-law and Huyanji, Great Yu and Baron enjoyed their friendliest, most prosperous, and most frequent civilian interactions. The world credits this to my sister and me, praising us as the dual empresses of the North and South, leaving our names in history.